Underwriting deals is such a major pain point for people. Most don't want to do it, and the people that are good at it are few and far between. That is why after 6 years of being in the industry and buying over 1,200 apartments, using my best-selling multifamily deal analyzer, I created Real Estate Lab, a full suite acquisition software for multifamily investors. We have built a product that helps investors automate their acquisitions and close more deals, all in a cloud-based platform. You can go to realestatelab.com and sign up today using the promo code TAG2 for 10% off your first 12 months. This is David Tupin. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to The Apartment Gurus, where twice a week, host Tate Siemer brings you deep dive interviews with the wisest gurus in the apartment investing industry. These experts are sure to create game-changing value and inspiration designed to catapult your business to the next level. Be sure to reach out to Tate at www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. And now, here is Tate Siemer and the Apartment Gurus.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Apartment Gurus podcast. And I'm super excited today because I get to hang out with my buddy, Mike Morawski, who has a great story to share with us. I think it's going to be really inspiring for you guys. And amongst other things, Mike has done huge things in the real estate space and makes a huge contribution through coaching and public speaking and training. He's been in the business 30 plus years. Controlled over $285 million in real estate transactions, and has a really strong personal resilience, which we're going to hear about, and a deep, authentic desire to help others live an extraordinary life. He's coached hundreds of real estate investors. So all of us get to learn from Mike today, and I'm super grateful, Mike, for you coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Tate. I appreciate you being or having me on and being here this afternoon with you.
You bet. So if you would, just for our listeners and myself, just kind of share with us a little more color into your background and your path through life, your professional path through life specifically, and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So, I didn't come from a family that had an entrepreneurial background, no real estate background at all. Sometimes I wonder how I got, the entrepreneurial spirit that I have, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. There's no doubt about that.
I love it.
I went into real estate when interest rates were 17%. And
wow.
I got there I was in the construction business and had a pretty successful general contracting business that I had built over the years. But like any entrepreneur, I was, doing the sales, doing the marketing, doing the bookkeeping, the hiring, the firing, ordering product. And I was still, in the field banging nails. And I can remember waking up one morning, sitting up in bed, looking at my wife going, man, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. And I decided to sell the company. So, I'm fortunate because somebody was knocking on the door to buy the company and I just sold it. Took a year off. And, like any entrepreneur, I don't think we ever really take any time off. During that year, we house hacked a couple houses and Tate, this was long before it was sexy, right?
Yep.
Now everybody kind of does it. That's kind of the way they get into real estate investing, or they buy a value add. But back then it was kind of unheard of.
Yep.
But I had listened to Jim Rohn years ago he said, success leaves clues. If you follow successful people, you'll cut your learning curve. You'll be successful. Follow the successes that they've had and even understand the mistakes that they made along the way. And it always stuck with me. And I met this real estate agent and went to him and said, hey, I'm thinking of going into the business. And he said, I think you'd be great at it. So he made me a cassette tape that I listened to over and over and over again. I just devoured the information. And I tell people today, you need to be a sponge. Take it in, but take action, right?
Yeah.
Went into the real estate business. I was saying earlier, I went in the real estate business when interest rates were 17%. And my first 9 months in the business, I sold 78 houses, built a team selling 125 listings a year. And 2005 rolled around. And so we had done that for about 12 years. 2005 rolled around, and I was, seeing that the market was shifting. Something was going to happen. I wasn't 100% sure what that would be, but I decided to go in the apartment business. And I didn't just wake up, Tate, and say, I'm going in the apartment business. When I was in the construction business, I had done some work for a couple of Chicago-based syndicators and understood the model. I understood you could raise private equity, marry it with a great real estate deal, stay in the middle. And as long as everything went well, everybody made money. Yeah. Well, I syndicated my first apartment deal in 2005. And from there, I went on, I raised $18 million. I bought 4,000 apartments in 5 markets. It was about $60 million in real estate. And I vertically integrated a property management company where we were managing 7,500 units and did that in 30 months. So, amazing. I grew really way fast, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And I tell people, I say, look, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't have to grow fast. I grew very unstable. And that was the first mistake I made, was I grew very unstable as a company. 2008 rolled around. It was like hitting a brick wall in a freight train at 200 miles an hour. Yeah. Everybody knows the economic crisis we went through in 2008. But because of our instability and because I was undercapitalized as a company, plus Tate, I was over leveraged. Mm-hmm. I owned $60 million worth of real estate at 85% loan to value, mm-hmm. when I should have been at 65 to 70%. And I tell people today, I say, don't get in deals unless you're 65 to 75% LTV. Mm-hmm. You need that margin, right? 2010 rolled around and we just imploded. Had a company that, had a lot of vacancies, a lot of NOI had dropped, occupancy dropped, and trying to figure out how to, stabilize the ship and keep things running. I wound up starting to move money from profitable companies, and I had 38 companies at the time. So I took money from profitable companies, put it in non-profitable companies. And my accountant and my attorney both said it's okay to do that, just leave a paper trail. And I did. The problem was that I didn't disclose it to my investors. Mm-hmm. And, we're held at a much higher standard when we raise money, right? And we have other people's money and managing their assets. And because I was moving money back and forth, and here was my thought behind it. Hey, this is just a recession. It's going to last 17 or 18 months. It'll be a 10 or 12% correction in the market. When things bounce back, I'll put the money back. Well, it lasted 7 or 8 years. There was a 40% correction. You couldn't weather that storm. So for non-disclosure and not telling my investors about the movement of money, I wound up being charged on wire fraud and mail fraud charges and got sentenced to 10 years in federal prison.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's quite a story. And you're obviously not even close to the only one that this sort of thing happened to in that crash. And there's some lessons to be, some hard lessons to be learned from this story. Being over leveraged, I guess would they call that commingling funds basically?
Well, it's not commingling funds, because what I did by the movement of money wasn't illegal. You can do that, but I should have told the investors I was doing it. Yep. If I don't, Tate, if I would have come to you and said, hey, we need to do this in order to keep everything afloat, you might have said yes. Right. If you would have said no, then it would have been a different story. But because of non-disclosure, and in the real estate business, we just need to be more transparent. Yeah. And our disclosure needs to be airtight, right? So So for that is what I got in trouble for. And so 2013, I went to prison thinking my life was over. And I always tell people, I say, look, I never flew private. I didn't have a big house. I didn't buy a boat. I didn't have a fancy car. I was the neighborhood baseball coach, home most nights for dinner. And I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with 3 men I didn't know, nor did I like. Yeah. Wow. What the hell happened in my life?
Oh boy, man, I feel that is tough stuff. And that's a hard, steep price to pay for non-disclosure, and I get that it's a big deal, and, it's the law is the law, but, that's quite a story. It's quite a timeline. It's, trajectory. So when did you get out, and kind of what's happened since then?
Yeah. So, it really started for me in prison. I was probably in prison. And the short answer to your question is I came home the week they closed the world down for the pandemic. So I went from one prison right into another, right?
Yeah.
But, the transition started for me while I was in prison. I was probably gone about 3 weeks. And at the time, my wife decided she was going to divorce me. And it really wrecked me. I really didn't care. I had wondered what I was going to do with the rest of my life and how I was going to get through one day, much less 10 years. And I walk in the gym one day, and I always tell people, I say I was just window shopping, right? I wasn't looking to work out or do anything. But this guy walks up to me, and, I'd gone from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight. I hated myself. The joke was, hey, take his shoelaces because we think he's going to hurt himself.
Yeah.
But this guy walks up to me in the gym that day, and he said, hey, don't let these people beat you. They can take from you everything that you've ever known. They can take your business, your apartments. They can destroy your family. But what they can't take is what you're made of. And what helped you to build that $100 million company, right?
Yeah.
He said, you can get that all back. He goes, come to my class every day, start working out. You'll start to lose weight. You'll feel better. And I don't know what it was. I think, in our lives, we're all faced with these defining moments.
Yeah.
And this was one for me. And so it was like somebody flipped the switch. I started going to his class. I started working out. I was feeling better. And before I knew it, I was in college. I got a bachelor's degree. I studied for 4 years, got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books. I wrote two home study courses, one on property management and one on real estate investing. I wrote an ethics course. I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics in prison for 6 years.
Wow.
On an outreach program, I went into the community. I told my story like 40 times to small business owners and local college students. Met a professor from the University of Minnesota, and he and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics last year. It gets taught at the collegiate level for forensic accounting and sales and marketing classes. Today, I'm home. I'm in the coaching and training business. Last year, I got approved by the SEC to go back and be an issuer of securities and a sponsor of deals.
Wow.
We bought our first deal back in December, and just actually finishing the capital raise on it now. So life's kind of come full circle. Not everything's perfect, and we're still rebuilding, but it's a different perspective today. So.
Yeah, this all still feels kind of pretty fresh to me. Like when I'm listening to your story, like this wasn't 10 years ago or 20 years ago that you got out of jail. This was beginning of COVID, and that wasn't that long ago. And I'm sure that the rebuild process takes, I'm sure, a lot of time and a lot of focus and energy. And your company's called My Core Intentions, I believe, or at least that's your website. And being intentional right now in what you're doing has to be so important and so key to being successful and rebuilding. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. I think listeners, there's so much here, but the intention, right? That defining moment where somebody, basically offered Mike a lifeline. And it started with his physical world, his physical life, getting back in shape, getting strong. I really believe that a lot of life is derived from your physical health and your physical condition. And if you want to level up in any part of your life, I think you can start with getting in shape, being in shape, right? Getting stronger. But that led to so much more that you did, the college studies, the writing the books. I mean, stepping back into being a contribution to the world. And that feels, it's almost a little emotional. Like it feels like a watershed moment, and what came afterwards was, it says, it speaks so highly of you and your resilience. Like I use that in your bio, your resilience and your tough mindset, the ability to make lemonade out of lemons, really. And, it could have really been quite a different story, and you could be in quite a different place now, but you're a published author, you're a coach, you're a speaker, you're a social media giant. So, listeners, check out Mike Morawski on social media, MORAWSKI. Follow him. That's all I'm going to say. So you're making a big difference now. And again, this is really like almost yesterday that you got out and, made all the changes that you made. So first of all, just congratulations, man. Like, I got to say that first and foremost, like, super big kudos to you for doing what you've done, because, and one other thing I want to say too is, there's not an ounce of victim story in your story. You don't hear any blame. You don't blaming the system, blaming the law, blaming other people, blaming the market crash. You're taking full responsibility for, like, this is what I did. This was the consequences. And not only are you owning that, but you're owning your responsibility to continue to generate who you are in the world. And all of us have that responsibility. Like, how we show up is 100% on us. Yeah. And so you've made huge choices about how you're intentionally showing up in the world, and writing books, public speaking, like all that stuff is just tremendous impact, and it's a tremendous value add to other people, and specifically real estate investors. And we're in this business, all of us, all the listeners, and me and you, we're in this business because of the freedom it offers, the time freedom, the money freedom. Ultimately, time freedom is not maybe always the case when you're building. And like, for you to that's just amazing to me that you got your okay from the SEC to go back to doing what you're doing, and now you're doing deals again, you're raising capital again. Like, man, there's got to be some serious upstream swimming to put deals together when you've got that on your, quite frankly, that on your record. But I'd invest with you, Mike, because, like I said, you've owned what you did, and you paid the price and took the consequences, but most importantly, again, just this victim mentality thing. Like, we all know people in life that take things personally, that thinks the chips are stacked against them, whether it's the government or whatever, their family, their spouse. And that's all story. Like, that's 100% fabricated story in your head, just like everything is, really. And you have a choice. You have the power to choose a different story. And if you're choosing victim, you're choosing disempowerment. And if you're choosing responsibility and ownership, you're choosing empowerment. Did I say I said that wrong? Sorry. If you're showing up as a victim, that's disempowering, right? Like, there's no power there. But ownership, responsibility, authentic, taking ownership is really, really a powerful place to come from.
Yeah, for sure.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate that. What was my option? I mean, right. My option would be to pull the covers over my head and call it a day, yeah. But, I feel that my story, first of all, people can learn from the mistakes I made, and in short, over leveraged, undercapitalized, grew too fast, didn't pay attention to the details, and I didn't listen to people around me, and I think those are critical things in life. And, I came home, I didn't have the intention that I was going to raise money again. I didn't think I'd be able to. great securities attorney out of Boulder, decided that she would see if we could get approved by the SEC. They said, absolutely. That I didn't even have to disclose in the documents that I was had this background. And I said, look, I'm always going to disclose. And the SEC was glad I said that, because I want people to know my background, right? And what they're getting into. But here's the key. I didn't think I'd ever raise money again. I was on a podcast one day, and there were probably 50, 60 people on. And some guy on the group says, hey, are you raising money again? And I said, no. He goes, well, let me know when you are, because I wouldn't want to invest with anybody other than you, because you've already made the mistakes and chances of you making them again are pretty slim. Yeah. And it was like, again, one of those light switches went off, and I thought, wow, that's so true,
Yeah.
So, So, you know what? I just, I love what I do. I love the real estate space. I love apartments, and I really have a love for people and putting deals together. So, and helping people, financially. So,
I'm sure you love the coaching, the speaking, the thought leadership that you do, as well. I'm assuming that is the case.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So
yeah. What's your
what you do, Tate?
Yeah, oh man, it's so key. Like, you're gonna be at your highest level of performance if you're doing something that you love. Yeah. And it took me a while. I'm 49, right? And it took up until 4 years ago to find this lane. And I didn't always love what I was doing with professionally and otherwise. And finding this lane has been the coolest thing. And I truly love what I do. I love my team. I love the business. I love putting deals together. I love being a contribution to residents at our communities, being a contribution to our investors. And, it's huge. And I can tell you've got that too. We could talk so much more about your experience with, the last 12 years or so. But I want to kind of look forward a little bit. And you said you just did your first deal. Tell us a little bit about that deal.
Yeah, it was a small 40 unit in Tampa. I had underwritten about 80 deals to find that one. We wrote 7 LOIs on 80 deals. We were the bridesmaid 6 times and finally got to the altar.
Yep.
Heavy value add townhouse community. And I think we paid $116 a door. Back in December, we closed on it, and we're fortunate because anything in that market today is nowhere near that. It's probably $170 a door right now in that market.
Wow.
It's a, B-class property, and we have gone in and, we've already spent a couple $100,000 on capital improvements. We've got, we're ahead of schedule. Our early underwriting was, I'll give you an example. We thought we could raise the rents on 2 bedrooms, which were at $950 a 2-bedroom. We thought we could raise the rents to $1150, and we just rented one post renovation at $1395.
That's awesome.
So we've really blown out our early expectations. Our investors are extremely happy. We've made our first payout on the deal last, just the end of second quarter here, and it's a great deal. So it's nice to kind of take the first one and hit a double anyhow. So
that's great. That's tremendous performance on that rent growth. That's terrific. How did you find that deal?
It was a broker relationship. So here, Tate, I came home and my old database was just gone, right? I didn't have anybody from the old days. There's probably 4 or 5 people in my life that I know from that, a decade ago. I've run into a few investors since and, made amends how I could, but a lot of what I do, I get, because somebody refers me to somebody. And so I have a friend who's been in the business for a lot of years. They've done close to $1 billion in transactions in the last 3 years.
Wow.
And he's introduced me to a lot of people that have, supplied deal flow for me, and other relationships, and I am very, very aggressive on a daily basis, and I don't mean aggressive in that sort, but I'm very, I try to move the ball forward every day. So I'm on LinkedIn meeting people and social media meeting people. I'm trying to build relationships when it comes to, getting deal flow, contractors, property management people, private investors. And, so you have to take action every day. We can get all this knowledge but unless you're in action every day, and I only know that because I've been in coaching for 20 years. I've had a personal coach in my life for that long, and I'm an advocate for coaching. That's why I coach people. Yeah. And I only work with a select few people that, they have to be people who really want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone really has a deep desire to succeed. I actually partnered on this deal with 2 of my coaching clients.
Nice.
So, that's my whole goal, is to do deals with my coaching clients. So
that's killer. Yeah. I'm beginning a coaching program myself, and I'm like you, I'm only taking on a handful of clients because I don't have that much time, and given all the properties we own, but same thing. Like, you got to really want it. You got to show me that you want it, or I'm not going to coach you. And, that's kind of the end of the story, right? Like, there's obvious reasons for that too. Cause if you don't want it, there's nothing I can do to make you want it. Exactly. End of story. Yeah. Well, okay. So talk a little bit about, your books, your speaking, when you're speaking at an event, what do you like to talk about the most?
Well, what I've been speaking on lately, and I just did a live event in Chicago here at the GOB conference. But I tell my story in a little bit more blown out version, a little more detail on things. But I really talk about, my whole thing is you can't let your past define your future.
Yeah.
I think, I might have been in prison behind a wall and ripped from society, but I think so many people are imprisoned in their own mind. Mm-hmm. I think people are imprisoned from, could be addiction, gambling, sex, alcohol, could be past abuse, whether it's physical or emotional abuse. And people don't have to let that past define their future, right? Yeah. You can move forward and move beyond that. And that's really the message that I try to bring out. I talk about the business mistakes I made and how to avoid those, but I think so many people are stuck and they don't move forward. They, and so mindset's a big thing. You said it before, a thought leader. I like to, put things out there that are going to help encourage people. And so my first book I wrote was Exit Plan, Your Complete Guide to Multifamily Investing and Why You Need an Exit Plan Before You Buy.
Yep.
I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years on coaching and training, and great instructors, they teach you how to get in a deal, find a deal, operate a deal, but nobody teaches you how or when to get out. And I always thought, man, Stephen Covey, wrote a book years ago called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And the second chapter in that was start with the end in mind. And that was one of those things, again, that always stuck with me. And, you need to know where you're going to maximize your profit. So Exit Plan does that, kind of shares that with people. And then I wrote a book on property management, winning strategies that we'll have out later this year. Cool. So I do some boot camps throughout the year and some one-on-one coaching. And I do a summit in October, a 3-day event. So
nice. And it's your summit.
Yeah. But my 3-day is I bring 20 other speakers on. So I bring other, high powered, successful people on. So
tell us a little bit about the summit, just for listeners that might be interested in going. Where, when, all that stuff.
It's virtual.
Okay.
And it's a 3-day event. And, I'll have some other, I bring 20 other speakers on that are successful in the multifamily space or have something to do with that success. So property management, multifamily syndications, raising capital, lending, capital stack type conversations, relationship building, mindset, so it's a full array for 3 days. We talk about underwriting, we talk about due diligence, and, people walk away overloaded, but, with the encouragement to go take action. So
what's it called?
Mike Morawski's Multifamily Summit.
Nice.
It'll be October. I don't know when this will air, but October 20th through the 22nd this year.
Okay.
If you go to My Core Intentions, you can find that. And I'd love to give a copy of my book away to your listeners. If
Cool.
they just go to mycoreintentions.com/free, they can download a ebook version there. But if you're like me, Tate, and you're an active reader and highlight and draw on the margins and that, you can buy a copy there too. So
awesome. Yeah. So there you go, guys. Free resource for you. Take Mike up on this stuff. Like, again, like when somebody offers you something in this space for free, whether it's a consultation or a book or a download, like, take it. I mean, it's going to level you up, and, whether it's huge or whether it's a small step, like it's a big deal. So, something you said earlier, I want to just go back to, being a prison in your own, I think your own mind or your own inner world, right? Whether it's like again, addictions and abuse and stuff like that. I think all of us have that to a certain degree. And I think of it as it's a little more subtle and nuanced than those examples, but your limiting beliefs, right? As free as your limiting beliefs will let you be. And, like we all have limiting beliefs. And when you enter the multifamily space, you there's probably not a single person that's entered the multifamily space that hasn't had to confront something like, I'm not sure I can do this, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the credit, or I don't have the partners, or I don't have the deals, or whatever it is. And like I talked about this in the last episode, like the most important real estate to develop is the 6 inches between your ears. And the thing is that dictates everything in your life. Like in the Henry Ford quote, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. Again, it's, if you believe you can do this multifamily space, really believe it at the core, then I think you're going to be unstoppable. And conversely, if you don't, you're going to be swimming upstream against a really heavy current. Like, just consider that the little things, and not so little things, like going to these boot camps, going to these conferences where you get the specialized knowledge, where you meet other people doing it, putting yourself in the right rooms, masterminds, paid coaches, paid mentors. Like these are the things that shift your mindset. And sometimes it ultimately just comes down to faith, guys. Like, hey, I've tried new things in the past. In general, they've worked out, and chances are this is going to work out too. So I'm just going to be faithful that I can do this, and I'm going to act as if that's the case. So, Mike, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I think what you said is all spot on. It is mindset. If you believe you can, right?
Yep. Yep.
Who was it? Earl Nightingale said, if you believe, conceive, you can achieve.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. And I think that if you're pushing the ball forward every day and doing something, here's a great analogy. All you have to do personally, and none of us grow professionally unless we grow personally. But if you grow 1% personally every day and look back at the end of the year, you've grown 365%.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah.
So what does that mean to somebody, right? Well, how many, how big's your database? How many people are you out meeting every day? Go meet one person every day. Build your database. Let people know. We walk into a room sometimes, Tate, and we think, well, everybody knows I'm a real estate investor. I'm going to be humble about this tonight and not say anything. But people don't know, until you talk to them, right? So what do you say to somebody when they say, hey, what do you do?
Right.
Listen, I help people invest in real estate to change their financial position. to see, returns where their principal balance is secured. Was that something you're interested in? Or who do you know, right? That's the other thing that people don't do is they don't ask somebody for a referral. So, if I'm on with somebody and they might not be interested, or even if they are interested, I always ask for a referral. Who else do you know who I can talk to? You've
Super
got
smart.
you got to expand your network, right? Grow your network. And by doing that, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from other people. Like, God, you and I, we hadn't really met before. And, we connected today and I said, geez, I want you on my podcast too, right?
Appreciate that.
Yeah. But I think we all learn from each other. You just have to be open to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So smart. And guys, at the end of the day, life is, one of my coaches said this once, I think it's brilliant. Life is just a series of conversations, right? Everything that happens in this business happens in the course of a conversation or multiple conversations. And if you learn how to have powerful conversations and you have them on the regular, nothing's going to stop you. Like, you're going to succeed. And, the thing, adding one person to your database a day, how doable is that? That's awesome. But again, just the strength of putting yourself in the right room and, having the conversations and like being willing to speak about yourself in a powerful way that's compelling to other people that they want to work with you. In Mike's case, he gets investors that way. I'd invest with you, Mike. Like I said before, I mean,
I'll call you when we're doing the next deal, because we're actively underwriting right now. So
nice. I was going to ask you about that. So what's next for you?
Yeah, I'm actively underwriting right now. I have an analyst I work with pretty closely, and he and I have just really been looking at deals. But we're, and I only look in specific markets, right? So if you looked on a map from Dallas to Charlotte, that's a mile along the southeast, and then over in Phoenix, or that market, that Arizona market, primary markets, because I want to be somewhere warm. I want to be somewhere where, it makes sense. I always say, follow the smart money, right? So, this is not a real business to be contrarian in. So if everybody's going one way, it doesn't make sense to go the other way. You should probably go the same way everybody's going right now, because that's where the growth is. So, and, you got to be specific at what you look at. Right. There's that population growth, job growth, household income, what makes sense. And those are the markets that those things are growing in right now. So,
Yep. Really well said. Mike, just to kind of bring things full circle, for a couple questions. Number one, what didn't I ask you about you and your story that I should have? Can you think of anything?
I can't offhand. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I would encourage people to go back and listen again, because, I think we did talk a little bit fast, but like I said, when I do this live, I blow it out a little more, but the mistakes, pay attention to that, listen to people around you, pay attention to the details. And if somebody says that they see something going on in your world that you are denying or saying you don't see, maybe you should take a closer look at that.
Yeah, that's well said. And I guess final question here is, for the listeners who are either trying to crack the code on the first deal and get that done, or have done maybe a deal or two or three and want to scale and level up. You've got experience with both of those things. What words of wisdom would you have for them?
Yeah, be conservative right now. We're in a market that things are changing. We were going up, and now we're leveling off, and probably we're gonna see for the next several months some things try to cycle out. I think there's going to be some changing in pricing. We're already seeing high interest or inflation. Interest rates going up. Just be conservative in your underwriting. Don't exaggerate. Don't think that you can beat the market, because you can't. And don't grow too fast.
Okay. I like that. I like it all. Mike, this has been awesome, inspiring, educational, and I feel like I made a new friend today, and I really look forward to staying in touch and hopefully seeing you at some events. And I look forward to seeing you continue getting your feet back on the ground and becoming a huge success.
Thanks, Tate. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And anybody wants to talk to me, they can reach out, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
Sure. Like you said earlier, I'm pretty loud on social media. So anywhere you hang out, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. You'll, always relevant content there daily. And, anywhere else on social media. But you can reach me directly at mike@mycoreintentions.com.
Awesome. Look into his coaching, guys. Look into his event. And, take advantage of this stuff. Chances are, if these guests that you resonate with, like, make contact with us and establish a relationship. And, my guess is that almost every listener really resonated with you today, Mike. You're very authentic and vulnerable in your sharing. And I really appreciate that. Listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of the Apartment Gurus. We're doing them twice a week now, so we'll see you in a couple days. Take care, everybody.
This has been the Apartment Gurus with Tate Siemer. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. To contact Tate, go to www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. He loves to hear from you and thanks you for being a valued listener. Just a reminder that you are the guru. See you on the next episode of the Apartment Gurus.